had been sent up by the Major, but also potentially looking for an excuse to get away from the Major, up north, potentially heading towards Lodz, but also Petrov-Tibiansky looking for NATO forces after the debacle at the supply cache, which you do now occupy, but only hold 25% of the supplies. Presumably, but you do not know how, Soviet and Polish transportation will be arriving to collect their hauls. As you move north, you pass through the large village, small town of Radomosko, which appeared to be under civilian occupation, and they allowed you to pass through without incident. You then arrived at Kamiensk and were about to wander in when you came to suspect that the people who were manning the town were not Soviet, but Soviet-aligned paramilitaries. It is noteworthy that Kamiensk appeared to have some kind of functional factory. As a result of which, you bypassed the town and instead headed up back to what you hope to be a NATO settlement, camped in the night just near, I think, a derelict farm. And whilst you were there, you were aware that you were being watched. You went out to try and find whoever was observing you, and you found clear evidence that they had indeed been there, but had artfully crawled away, heading in what you believe was a northwesterly direction towards the town of Bechetal. However, the sun has now risen on our little gang. It is fresh in the morning. What do you plan on doing?
Didn't my character crash the vehicle?
That's right, we had a really bad...
Yeah, that's true, you did crash. It wasn't like horrendous, but you did crash. Alright, okay. So yes, you were heading off in that direction and you plowed into yes, you plowed into something. Okay, so you are currently damaged and stuck. There needs to be some kind of scrutiny about what is the nature of the damage to the vehicle and how do you get unstuck from this situation before you carry on your way.
Yep. Because of the terrible driving.
Hey, the dice are the dice.
What was the damage?
Yeah.
Anyone can give me a... Hang on. Sheet. Anyone can give me a tech roll to sort of diagnose the vehicle, as it were. It's going to be just flat, no modifiers.
Can we assist each other, or...?
The way assistance... you could, but yeah. Sorry, I very nearly got it confused with the Fantasy Flight game there. You could assist one another, but I see that Dalton has already managed to succeed on his own. Wolf also adds to this. Okay, excellent. So you all huddle. Yep. You all huddle around the hood, and you pop it open. You start looking around, and it seems as though the damage to the sort of engine itself is minimal. The radiator appears to be leaking, but it's not badly damaged. Some repairs and draining and then refilling it will probably get that to be fine. Getting underneath the vehicle and looking at the axles and drive shaft and all of that kind of jazz, you find out that area is fine. That's not damaged. You are, however, bogged down in a muddy ditch, so as well as dealing with the radiator, you're going to have to haul this thing out.
Oh, piss.
Yeah.
Yeah. And just for reminders, this is not a tracked vehicle anymore. You're in a big old... I can't remember if it's a 5-ton or a 10-ton truck, but you're in a big old truck.
I do prefer to go on foot.
I normally drive better than this, but we might as well get it pushed out.
Edge, do we have
Oh,
any kind of basic tools on the truck, like a jack or a box of tools or anything?
So yeah, they're via Soberslau. So Soberslau, who is currently not here, but you've got access to their stuff, has got some very basic repair tools for vehicles. Nothing fancy. It's not going to be good for complex repairs, but for basic repairs, it should be fine.
More importantly, do we have a jack? Can we lift the vehicle up so that we
I'm going
can
to say
put something under
yes.
the tires so that we can drive out of the ditch?
Yep, I'm going to say since you came from a big, well-supplied supply depot, yes, you have a jack in the back.
Then what I would suggest we do is we get some timber, logs, whatever, and lift up the wheels on the side that are stuck. Place those components underneath the wheels, lower the vehicle back down so that we can drive off of the mud.
Yeah.
Absolutely fine. Looking around you, you're in relatively open country. You're not in sort of heavily wooded, but a couple of minutes walk off in that direction is a sufficient cluster of trees that you might be able to use for the purposes of wood. But there's no ready-made planks or anything along those lines easily to hand.
No, I get. Yeah, I'm just looking for downed, like logs that we could, not logs specifically, huge logs, but logs that we could break and form kind of a makeshift pathway for the tire to track back onto the hardball.
Absolutely. Give me a flat survival roll for anybody who's doing the scouting. Well, not scouting, the searching for logs. And I'm going to need to know if anyone doesn't do that and remains with the vehicle.
I'm with him.
I remain.
Any excuse.
I remain with the vehicle.
Okay. So, Emile, despite your practiced eyes, perhaps age is getting to you and you don't particularly notice anything. However, Dalton and Rostogram are searching through the area. They really don't want to have to chop down a whole tree. That's more than you need. But as you're looking around that area, you find what looks to be a collection of pre-felled wood that's just waiting there. These are way more common in Germany, but they happen in Poland sometimes. And could use some of that to haul it back. And it's going to be heavy, but you can do it. Haul it back and use that to get under the vehicle and provide a firmer surface.
Is this theft?
Property law doesn't exist in the way it used to. Like there are all sorts of items that would once have been considered theft. However, over 50% of the world is dead, and it is therefore then scavenge if the owner is just dead and nobody's
Well, that's
exerting.
fair. I have no moral qualms about this.
We can just look at it as borrowing. We can give it back if they want it back. We just
Basically-
need it for now to get our car out of the mud.
It's basically using something that somebody else is not using at the present time.
Okay.
They got-
Or we're just securing unsecured property for the moment.
Hey, I'll steal.
And it's still technically a war. All sorts of extra rules apply, or disapply rather. Okay, so the people who were with the logs, give me a stamina roll for, and I'm going to sort of accumulate your results. I'm not going to be imposing negatives, but because this is a sort of big group check and loads of you are presumably carrying these logs together, I'm going to be looking for 2 successes from the group of you combined
So-
for moving these. Oh,
Here's the
fine.
thing. Oh, okay. Because I was going to say, I'm really old. I'm really old, you guys.
Rostringham is being the
Oh,
question. Emil being along for this.
Old man Emil, he's there doing the whole, yeah, no, get your hand under there, you get a better grip there, but not actually doing any of it.
I got lumbago.
Yeah.
But, I mean, Dalton is just away with it, and Rostogram is more than doing her part. This means that the three of you are making good time with the logs, and you get to observe what is happening at the vehicle as you're crossing the field. And just on the way back, you notice that coming out down the road from Prytial Tiobiansky appears to be a jeep. And it is heading towards your crashed vehicle.
I get down and get my gun out. I would like to roll for
Okay.
stealth.
Yep, make me that recon roll. It's just flat. It'll be opposed by them. Okay, that's 2 successes. I'm just going to roll something in the background. Okay. Is anybody else, going to ground and trying to be stealthy, or are you taking other forms of action?
I think what I would do is I would dump the logs into a position where they're between me and the unknown vehicle, and then I would take up a fighting position behind the logs. I would also indicate to Rostergam to do the exact same thing.
Yeah, she's like, why are you dropping the log? Oh, okay. I'm sure.
Fantastic. Particularly, and before we go to Mac, particularly Dalton, give me a recon roll because, of course, you've got a lovely little scope with which to look at things.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. It's a jeep. It's a vehicle. That's pretty much all you can tell. So, Mac, you as the Commodore is guarding the jeep, and not the jeep, the truck, and you see what appears to be a jeep just coming, plain as day, down the road towards you. It doesn't even look like the people are going to be getting out a long way from you. It is approaching you with some degree of confidence. It's not moving cautiously, and it's not belting down at breakneck speed. It's just a pleasant, 50, 60 miles an hour. What do you do?
Can I roll? Can I say who it is?
That'll be a recon roll. Okay. You have to wait for it to get relatively close because it is sort of coming straight at you. The first thing that you're able to tell is this is a jeep. The second thing that you're able to tell is this is not a civilian jeep. And then the third thing you're able to tell as it gets pretty close is, those are US Army markings.
Okay. He just waits until they get there.
All right. The jeep pulls up right next to you. They don't even sort of get out in a relatively cautious fashion and approach for some distance. They just drive right up next to you like they were expecting you. And there are 4 people, all of which get out. They're all armed, but none of them appear to be taking aggressive stances. And you've got the intelligence trait, so you know things about people. As a result of which, you will instantly be able to tell the following. 1, yes, they're US Army. They're all properly equipped. They've all got unit insignia. 2, they've got a very famous unit insignia, which is the sort of yellow shield with the black diagonal line and the black horse's head in the upper corner. These are 1st Cavalry.
That's cavalry.
Yeah. Also, part of the 1st Cavalry is the 1st Air Cavalry, the guys who very famously have helicopters.
He looks at goes, the major's gonna like this.
So yeah, they get out and they say, "Good morning. You appear to be in a little bit of distress. How do you come by these parts?"
Oh, we're heading up to the village up there. Kinda crashed their vehicle by accident.
Yeah. And they'll say, it's rare to see anybody alone out in these parts these days.
Yeah. I have a team that scouts out the area.
I see. You notice one of the 4 is just walking off from the group and is sort of walking around the back of your truck, and unless you do anything to stop him, he'll sort of hop up and just look in the back and see what's there. And say, well,
We got told.
You say you've been sent to scout this area. Sent by who?
Another one of your a major in the U.S. Army.
Yeah, Major. And one of them sort of grins and looks at the other one, but they don't
For
verbalize whatever it is they're grinning about. And well, that is good news. What's their strength?
currently they're occupying. What's the city again? Presby.
Sestakova.
Sestakova. They occupy that city.
I see. And roughly how many people, how many vehicles, what's the supply situation?
They got a good amount of supplies, but they got injuries right now. They got vehicles as well, so
See. How did you get past Kamiensk?
went around.
I sort of shrug at that, and I kind of like, okay. Well, they can tell you're German Navy, but they're not going to be able to. They can't quite work out your rank. You've got the air of senior, but beyond that. So they said, well, certainly be glad to host a fellow NATO troop in our little gathering. What say you we help you get out of that? And they point to the truck in the mud. And then you can come with us back over to Pritial Trebiansky. You and the friends you chose not to tell us about. And they sort of smile at that.
Yeah, he goes. He goes. He looks into there. He goes. Don't mind the lieutenant. She doesn't bite. He doesn't bite.
No, I'm not talking about them. I'm talking, or him rather. I'm talking about the 3 other folk you got out there.
No.
He looks over. Yeah, they were supposed to bring back the wood. I'm quite surprised they're behind the wood. He looks at them like, he whistles over to the guys and goes, "All clear." He whistles over.
Oh.
Master Game will not get up
Emil-
until Dalton gets up.
Emil gets up.
Yeah, I'd be watching through my scope and observing that the Commodore is conversing what appears to be American troops. I kind of hand signal to Rostagam that it looks all clear, but remain cautious, and then resume picking up the wood and making our way back to the truck.
I turn to him. Do you need a medical officer? A medical personnel to help tend to any?
Well, we could always do with more medical personnel. We have a few, but there are never enough.
Yeah, there's never enough. Besides, the 3 troops I have with me, also, 2 soldiers I have, both American soldiers as well.
Well, as long as there are no Russians in there, I'm sure we'll be able to work something out. Either way, that don't look like you're here to make any kind of trouble, and you certainly don't have the kind of equipment necessary to do it. Again, he smiles at that. You are, by the way, talking to a man who is very obviously a corporal, and the rest of the people with him are all privates.
We were here to establish we're up here to establish communications between the Major and you guys.
Well, That is encouraging news. Encouraging news indeed. And he sort of, waits until the other three people are coming on over with the log, and he gives all three of you a long look as though he's sizing all of you up. He spends longer looking at Emil than anyone else, because Emil is the only person who is... sorry, you were saying, Tiny?
I outrank him, right?
Well, you would, but you're not currently wearing a uniform.
No. But being in special forces, I would have outranked him, right?
Well, not necessarily by being in special forces, but I believe you are also a sergeant.
Yes.
So
yes.
yes.
Yes. So I don't salute him. Well, I'm not like,
okay.
That's it. Yeah.
Yep. But he doesn't know what you are. He just sees a person who's old and not wearing insignia and not in a formal uniform. So he's spending time looking at you before turning back to the Commodore and saying, "What's with the old timer?"
We picked him up along the way. He needed we picked him up along the way because we needed an extra person, and he's needed the company.
Picked him up. He's not wearing any kind of uniform. I know. He's not a local, is he?
No.
I'm wearing what do you call it? Army surplus Finnish uniform.
Yeah,
but so obviously
familiar with that.
Okay, yeah.
No, he's not a local. He came from the north.
Finland. I'm Finnish.
Finland? He sort of gives you a sort of look as though he's trying to work that out, and then says, all right, that'll do. Come on. And gestures to the truck and says, get your logs under there. We'll help you out. And he gets like a rope from the back of his Jeep, ties it appropriately around his Jeep, ties it appropriately around the truck to help drag you out.
We would still lay the logs down in front of the tires that are stuck in the mud to help.
Oh, absolutely.
Firm up the surface.
Yeah. Give me just for the sake of comedy, no more than 2 people can give me a stamina roll.
Not it.
Yeah, the Commodore won't be doing that. He'd be like, yeah, I'm...
Oh, wow. Okay, so Dalton and Rostogram are on sort of jack lift, slide in log Jeep, and between you all, you do an amazing job. Rostogram, you're feeling like really competent. Like, damn, Apocalypse Life must be treating you well. You're stronger than you ever remember. Not noticing that Dalton's the one doing all the work, and you just think you are.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's messed up.
You're just making sure the doctor doesn't get injured. She thinks that she's doing the job, helping you, but
yeah,
you just pick up on
a kid.
Yeah. A surgeon or a medical person's got to have delicate hands. So I mean, it's funny how it's worked out, but it's the way you portray it's just hilarious.
I mean, I'd imagine she has some strength, but for having to, carry. I don't know. Maybe she's still riding on the high. It's been a couple days, I imagine, in game. But she's probably still riding on a bit of that high of like, I'm like the battlefield medic for this.
Yeah, I mean, you're rolling 2d8. You are average strength for a soldier, so yeah, you've got some. But okay, so tile that round. Okay, Mac, you can give me a driving roll.
Don't put it further in the ditch, please.
No, that's possible, but unlikely. And if people want to help push, they can give me staminas.
Not a chance.
I like that roll.
Yeah. Yup. Okay.
Push, Roster.
Is my dragging and Dalton?
Don't just touch the vehicle. Push.
Might as well get all these rolls out of the way now.
Between
Don't use
Dalton
your hands,
and
use your
Wolf.
shoulder.
She's gonna have to do some pushing later. I'm telling you. Drop and give me 20.
Oh, okay. So, yeah, both of you putting your shoulders to the vehicle. Rostogram kind of like slips off it a little bit, but Rostogram is helping. Dalton has got this, and Wolf manages to appropriately drive the vehicle in reverse, low gear, keeping it on the logs, etc. Goes. And with the Jeep pulling as well, you are hauled out of the mud and back onto the road. Mac, you notice that radiator warning light is most certainly on, and you get the feeling that you're not going to be able to drive this thing very far until you get the radiator fixed.
Ah, good. Perfect timing.
Finally, I'm fucking here.
Hello.
Okay.
Hello.
Lieutenant, the radiator light's on. You need to fix it.
Hold on, give me a moment. Disregard the strange voice that everyone is strange at hearing. It's probably a bloody hallucination. Cough, cough, my mom. Cough, cough.
Hello.
But yeah, the radiator is busted and needs a fixing. It was also in a ditch, but they've got it out the ditch. You have been joined by 4 people from the 1st Cavalry who have helped you and given you a tow.
Yeah, the first I would have been. I would have said it out loud, so your character would have known.
Rolled.
Okay, this was a very simple repair, so you are able to do it. There's going to have to be a bit of delay as you sort of refill the radiator. The problem with that is, where are you getting the water? You could do it from your own consumable rations, or you could choose to wait until you get to a different water source and then try and refill the radiator. But until you do that, you will be limited to low speeds and short distances unless you really want to bugger up your engine.
I'll be happy to do low speed.
I'm happy to, yeah.
Did we have water in the vehicle, or are we just carrying our own water?
You're just carrying your own water. Your big water containers went up into BMP.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I forgot about that.
So basically, yeah, I'm happy to go low.
All right.
Low speed.
Fair enough. In that case, you're all asked to get inside. They say, get inside your truck. Just follow us. Stop when we stop, and it'll all be fine. And they all hop in their vehicle. They seem very relaxed. They don't seem worried or distrustful of you at all, which is odd, because everybody is worried and distrustful of everybody.
Well, while I'm back in my own vehicle, I would be reattaching my rank and American flag insignia back on my uniform that I'd removed previously.
Mm-hmm. All right. Getting a little. I can't remember whether at this time it was sewing or Velcro, but either way, it'll be very simply done. Velcro. Okay.
Yeah, it's Velcro.
Either way, it'll be. So yeah, whack that on. So you all climb inside your truck and follow the Jeep. It's not long until you come across what appears to be a properly manned checkpoint. Everybody can give me recon rolls. They're flat, but will be opposed. Oh, wow. Okay, so Emil and Dalton are on this. You both notice that quite some distance ahead of the checkpoint are actually some more concealed troops. Just a handful of them, who are clearly there to give advanced warning to the checkpoint, keep an eye on things, that sort of affair. But that just reinforces the idea that these guys have got this set up properly. At the checkpoint, the Jeep is stopped, and the 4 men inside produce papers. There is a conversation that you cannot hear, and then the people at the checkpoint appear to. One of them goes and we're like a little hut. You can't see what's going on inside that little hut. And 2 others come out and walk towards your truck. One of them sort of taps on the driver's side window taps on the driver's window, clearly wanting to speak to the driver.
He winds it down.
Good morning. I have been told that you're being escorted in by our friends there, and that you're here on reconnaissance detail from another position. Is that true?
Yes.
Let's see. They also tell me that you have got 3 friends with you. Is that true?
Yes.
That's interesting. I'm going to give you an opportunity to do a... hang on. Yeah, I'm going to give you an opportunity to do either a recon or a persuasion roll, your choice.
I'll go with I'll go recon.
Fine. Okay, that's enough because this was an opposed roll. So, as you're as you're answering that question, you can tell that he doesn't believe what he just said. What you take from that, you don't know. But when he says you got 3 friends with you, is that right? He doesn't believe what he just said. How you respond to that, I don't know if that alters your response, but you notice that before you go, yes.
Actually, I got 1, 3, I got 4 friends here. And he says the lieutenant. And 2, enlisted, American enlisted, and a civilian.
Excellent. You have narrowly avoided the he was checking whether you just said yes to everything trap. Okay. He nods to that and says, I see, and what are you carrying?
Just our gear.
Okay, I see. Is this rifles and pistols only, or do you have anything bigger?
Does he remember? Does anyone? We got one of our soldiers carries a sniper. A medical personnel who carries medical gear, and currently we got a engineer who carries some engineering gear.
I only got a hunting rifle, civilian.
Hunting rifle, civilian.
I see. Very well. And then it seems to note something down on a little clipboard and says, if you just wait there for 1 moment, and as you look in the wing mirror, you see that one of the other people is looking under the truck with a torch. Then he goes around and looks into the back of the truck, looks at all of you riding in the back, and is sort of noting everything there.
Just as a point of clarity, when you say a torch, you mean a flashlight, right?
That is correct, yes.
Because to me, a torch has fire.
Yep. That is understandable. So yes, flashlight. And it's having a look. I don't know if that's an English-American thing. I don't know.
Typically it is. I mean, if you've watched any of the World War II shows like Band of Brothers or anything, the British soldiers that are portrayed in that, they always call them torches.
Yeah.
So, and Americans typically call them flashlights.
Oh, well. There's one I didn't know.
We call them either.
Oh, okay. Anyway, so yes, with their flashlight, they're having a look underneath, having a look at everything, and they sort of peer the flashlight into the dark corners of the back. You don't have any big boxes of anything, so they don't open anything up and have a look. And then after a bit, the guy sort of jumps down. Unless any of you do anything. No? Okay. There's another brief conversation that you don't get to hear between the guys at the checkpoint. And then the guy from the hut comes back out, and he sort of slides up the classic red and white striped pole that comes down across the ground. He pushes it up, and you are waved through.
Yep.
What rank are these? What rank are these individuals at this guard post? What are the ranks?
So everyone there, it's a mix between privates, senior privates, because the army, so they don't have lance corporal, I think, in the US, and then corporal.
So the highest rank is a corporal?
That is correct.
Which is an E4 to my E7. So
yeah.
I'd want to ask him a question to the effect of, Corporal, what is the purpose of your checkpoint here? What is it that you're protecting or guarding?
He'll say, I'm not currently authorized to answer that question, Sergeant.
Who's your commanding officer?
My commanding officer is, and then I'm going officer. I guess I'm going to skip all of the intermediary ranks, and then say commanding officer is Lieutenant Smith, Sergeant.
Is he available on site?
No, Sergeant.
All right. Please contact your lieutenant and inform him that we're coming into the town, and that we'll want to speak to him.
He says, I'll notify the lieutenant, Sergeant. He doesn't promise that the lieutenant is going to answer this, but yes.
No, I understand that. I mean, I'm just a sergeant and he's a lieutenant, but I want that communication path there because we may need to speak to him. And then I would tell him to carry on.
You'll wave through regardless, but because of your conversation, you notice that the person that you just talked to walks into that hut again. What goes on in there, you can't see, but he walks into the hut.
Well, I assume he'd be getting on his communication device and communicating.
Yep, that's a reasonable assumption. When you waved through and you get to go back down the road, there doesn't appear to be anything obvious for quite some time. There's more open fields, farm fields, etc. There's no obvious position until you come over a little. The terrain shifts slightly, and there is a town in front of you. This town is big. It's not a city, but it is definitely a big town. There appears to be all sorts of signs of activity. There are civilians very obviously wandering around, going about their business. There are more checkpoints. You also start noticing things like proper defensive positions around the town, the vast majority of which are concealed, but so you don't quite know what's there. But with your keen eyes, you notice one or two which hints at the presence of many more. And this place
do we see any military vehicles anywhere?
Let me see.
Like armor versus light equipment.
Yeah. You do not. Everything appears to be man portable, at least in the.
Okay. So this doesn't appear to be a fortified position above and beyond just the checkpoints.
You can give me a recon roll. This doesn't appear to be a fortified position above and beyond the checkpoints.
Okay.
You're driven in.
Basically, what I'm looking for is any hint that these guys might not be truly American military and they might be, acting.
I see.
As an imposter unit.
Yeah. as you drive in, you reach another checkpoint. This one's on the sort of the periphery of the town itself. Something similar to the drill that just occurred happens again, and with your suspicious mind, you start looking for little inconsistencies, particularly in things like uniform, which you would know very well and are one of the things that imposters are most likely to get wrong. Missing key insignia, that kind of a thing.
And the whole name, Lieutenant Smith, that's a pretty common name, so that's kind of what's triggering my heightened caution, I guess you could say.
Absolutely.
There is a lot of Smiths in the world.
I know.
There is. But it is also one of the quickest quick make up a name
Smith,
to lie. Yeah, there are many. But as you're looking at their uniforms, you notice that these people are consistently uniformed appropriately for the 1st Cavalry. And various different little bits within the 1st Cavalry Division. So you're not picking up any errors there. Also, in terms of procedure, and this is where your personal knowledge will outstretch mine, but in terms of procedure, they're doing it right. So it's adding up, and it's interesting that they appear to have maintained discipline.
So, in comparison to the Major and her unit, these guys seem to be more professionally put together and consistent.
Yes, they do. And also, unlike the Major's unit, they don't seem to be as well equipped as the Major's unit were when you first bumped into them. But another thing is this unit doesn't seem to have any stragglers. The Major's unit was picking up the survivors from any NATO unit nearby, including foreign NATO units. Everyone here is 1st Cavalry Division and nothing else.
Okay, so I would relay to the Commodore that I initially was suspicious, but based on what I've observed of this unit, they seem to be more more consistent in their presentation of tactical behavior, uniform presence, ranks, and they seem to be more in line with typical military behavior than the Major's unit was. I think we could relax a little bit with these guys and maybe try to get some information. Maybe they know something about the Major we don't. And that could account for the corporal's response in the conversation with the Commodore out in the field where we were stuck.
Only Americans, though.
I didn't understand that. What was that?
Only Americans, though.
They're only Americans, yes.
To be clear, you notice people who are not American, but they're all like civilians, unarmed, going about their daily business. The only uniformed or armed people you see are 1st Cavalry Division. Okay, right. Well, as you are driven into town, it presents a lot like most of the towns that you are familiar with or that you've seen, which is that the periphery appears to be a lot more damaged than the interior, or that the interior is where repair efforts have been focused. And that is true here. Also notice, much like Kamiensk, that there appears to be some form of industrial building that is functioning. It's got several smokestacks. Only one smokestack is producing anything, but a smokestack is producing something. So something's happening. But you don't actually go anywhere near it. The streets themselves are tidy. Calling them clean would be a little bit of an exaggeration, but all of the debris has been cleared away. The pavements are kept open. Where there was obviously badly damaged road surfaces, they have in the main been repaired. Usually with temporary repairs, but hey, way better than almost everything else you've seen. And as you get closer and closer to the middle, even cleanliness starts appearing. Eventually reach what is obviously this building's big civic town hall. Around it, it is not fortified, but it is defended with sort of sandbag positions, that kind of affair. And there are 1st Cavalry Division infantry surrounding this place. It is very clearly well defended. And your vehicle pulls up. Well, if the Jeep pulls up, I assume you choose to stop when the Jeep stops. Tell me if you don't.
Yeah, we stop.
Okay. Yeah, the Jeep pulls up and pull in behind it, and a couple of people are walking down a flight of stairs towards you. They are moving at pace, as though they are keen to be about something, but they don't have weapons raised or anything along those lines. And as they approach, you can tell that the most senior person in the party, who is also at the front of it, is a lieutenant. He appears to have 6 people with him. They, at first, do not pay attention to you. They talk to the people in the Jeep. And unless you get out, you won't be able to hear what they say.
I'm gonna get out and just knock on the...
Once you're out, you don't need to knock. The Jeep's like this open top thing. But as you start getting out, one of the people just turns around and says, "Please remain in the vehicle for a few moments."
Right. He's like, "Oh, great. I can't stretch my legs."
Choose to obey that.
Yeah, he's gonna stay in the vehicle because it's not.
All right.
It's
okay.
there.
After a few moments.
Yeah.
Carry on.
It's there. He wants to make. Doesn't want to overstep the boundaries or anything. He just goes, "Okay, I'll just close the door and wait."
After a few minutes, about 2 or 3, the group of people will walk over towards your truck and gesture for you all to come out.
He gets out and he tells the rest to hop out as well.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah. The lieutenant appears quite relaxed up until the moment you fully emerge, and his eyes sort of scan your uniform, and he notices the multiple gold bars, at which point he visibly straightens up and stiffens up and gives you a salute and says, "Commodore!"
He salutes him back. I'm only a Commodore in the Navy. Or submarines.
He gives no visible reaction to this. He knew that anyway, but he's not going to say that. But he didn't know you were submarines, but he knew you were Navy, and he knows you're German Navy. He's worked that out.
Yeah.
So I've been asked to have a conversation with you all before taking you to see the commanding officer of this position. Also, whilst you are, of course, all at liberty to keep your weapons as you move around the town, we would ask that you surrender them before entering the town hall.
That's understandable. We will.
Okay. Does anybody try to... Down, Tiny.
It seems weird, but Emil is not going to argue.
Does anybody try to conceal a weapon or do anything fancy?
No.
All right. In that case, you hand over your gear or it's taken from you. It's all very amicable. You can see that one particular person who appears to be a private...
Wait, actually, Emil, not because he's trying to do something. He, instead of handing it over, he I guess nature or whatever, he just leaves his guns in the vehicle. He steps out unarmed.
Okay, when that happens, nobody comments on that, but a guy goes into the truck and takes them.
Okay, yeah. Emil does not argue that either. He just goes, "Oh."
And you go, oh, it says, don't worry, sir. And a private appears to be taking notes down on some sort of clipboard as the weapons are collected. They are whisked off up the stairs into the town hall building. And then the lieutenant says, good morning, everybody. I am Lieutenant Richardson. Please follow me.
Oh, there's a loop.
And he kind of like pauses when you do that because he's being saluted by somebody who's not in proper uniform because you don't have insignia on, and he kind of has what do I do about this? But he decides to be nice and just salutes back because that's going to be the least confrontational thing to do here.
Oh.
And then just moves on.
That's very polite. Oh.
Yeah, he's being nice to the old timer.
And in keeping with military tradition, because the Commodore outranks the lieutenant, we wouldn't salute the lieutenant necessarily. The lieutenant would salute first. The Commodore would return the salute, and we would salute accordingly. But
next, yeah,
you don't salute lower ranking personnel when you're in presence of a higher ranking personnel already.
Oh, my bad. Undo.
That's fine. And the lieutenant's already saluted the Commodore. That's all already happened.
Yeah.
So yeah, okay, and he'll lead you all into the town hall. It's a big, grand edifice. You go up this huge flight of stairs. There are sort of rampant lion statues on either side. And this building is clean. It's got a bit of like that blackening that you get from exhaust damage to stone. But other than that, this is pretty cleaned up. And you're led inside the building. There is obvious activity here. You can see troops wandering backwards and forwards, many of whom pause to give rapid salutes before moving on. They are largely unarmed, but there are armed guards at key locations. And eventually you're taken into a waiting room, what would once have been a waiting room, by the lieutenant. Around you on the walls are paintings of administrators or former mayors, whatever it may be, that you've never seen them. You don't know who they are, but very serious-looking men and women in suits. And the whole place has got a slight air of faded luxury about it. There's a very nice carpet on the ground. You're sitting in very comfortable armchairs. There's a sort of ornate teak table in the middle of this place. And it's been kept up. You're all invited to sit down. So, before we begin, can I offer any of you any refreshments?
Water, if you have it.
Of course. And he sort of turns slightly and says, Private! Man comes in and says, please, get a large bottle of water and enough glasses for everybody here, Private. Yes, sir. Private scuttles away. And about a minute later, Private scuttles back in. And it's presented neatly on a tray. And you are stunned to find that there's even one or two little... It's only one per glass, but there's ice in these glasses as fresh water from a bottle is poured out into each one of these glasses and given to you.
Yeah. Hey.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That will be all, Private. So, Private disappears. Well, I understand that you've come here. I understand you've come here from some distance. Please, tell me all about your journey thus far.
We managed to capture the city of Kova. manage to come north to up here to see if there's any more NATO forces.
The lieutenant nods and says, "Well, as you can clearly see, there are indeed NATO forces here, and we appear to be doing quite well. What about hostile forces in the area? Did you encounter any?"
Your neighbor city looks like they're working with the Russians.
Neighbor in which direction?
South.
Speaking of Kamiensk, what forces did you see in Kamiensk?
More, they were wearing red armbands. So I'm guessing the Polish civilians who are sympathized with the Russians.
He nods and says, "Did you see any vehicles, armor, anything along those lines?"
Dalton, did you get a good look at the city?
I don't remember it. We went around it. It was hard to see.
You did. Yeah, your cursory examination did not reveal any vehicles, but you didn't do anything in detail.
We didn't do anything in detail, but they do have factories working.
He nods, like that information wasn't a surprise. And he says, "I see. And have you come across any other active Russian or Polish forces in the region?"
I'd quietly remind the Commodore that we were attacked by a Polish force with a Hind helicopter.
Oh, we're good alliance with that. I remind him of that.
Okay, so do you withhold that information?
We do have an alliance with some Polish that have a helicopter.
His eyes, he cannot contain his obvious surprise when you say that. Like his eyebrows go up. Beyond that, it's pretty controlled, but that was clearly a surprise. I'll say a functioning helicopter. Do you know if they have a reliable source of aviation fuel?
Yes, I'm guessing so.
See, where is this helicopter based?
It's further south than us. I'm guessing at our friends in Krakow. Oh.
He seems to mentally log that. In fact, he actually takes a note of that piece of information. And says, "Have you been to Krakow?"
No. Rumor is that they have working streetlights and everything, but
He'll nod and he'll note that. He seems less surprised by that, but there is nonetheless a sort of an air of when that is stated. He'll note that down.
But I know the city is under Polish army control, which means we do have an alliance with them, so if we do need to actually have some extra support, we can.
He notes that as well. And says, "And have you managed to avoid confrontations with any, or encounters with any Soviet forces?"
Before we met up with the major, we We encountered a lot of Russians.
I see. Roughly where were they?
The bulk of them were going towards Germany, away from this place.
Note there. And he'll say, "I see. Is there anything else you?" And he's clearly at first talking to the major, but after he's not the major, no, the commodore. But his eyes rove to everyone in the party as he says this. So is there anything else anyone would like to add to this?
Emil looks to the Commodore as a sort of like,
You can. He goes, yeah.
Well, hold on. What time was it? Was it Kraken?
Say again, Tiny?
No, it was Lodz.
Yeah.
So
Lodz is the place to the north of you currently.
Yes, but that's the place that I went past and saw the things at.
You saw that interesting, shall we say, piece at Lodz.
Well, when I was traveling down south, I went past Lodz, and I couldn't help but notice that there seemed to be a strange truce between the Americans and the Soviets. But it seemed uneasy. There was a lot of, I think, military there.
He again nods and notes that down. Nobody else speaks. He'll then stand up.
He'll mention that we just he goes, we recently teamed up with this our old friend here. That's how we got the information about the North.
I see. Thank you for this information. Kindly wait here, relax. Somebody will be with you in a few minutes. And he'll give a brief salute before leaving. And unless anyone stops him.
No.
Nope.
All right. Time passes. You are left alone. It is obvious that there is a guard outside the door, but one of them, seemingly. And you're just left in this room. You have a conversation amongst yourselves. Do you wait, or do you get antsy and start doing things?
There's only water here, right?
That is correct, because that's all you asked for.
He goes,
I'll have a look around for like a deck of cards.
He goes, let's do some icebreaker. Does anything?
See again?
You get out there, Mac.
Basically, he goes, let's do an icebreaker. One thing about yourself.
I've studied mechanics and electrical engineering before I joined the army. The army.
He's not actually Finnish, he's secretly German. Carry on.
Yeah, sorry. I'm horrible at accents. I'm trying to be Finnish, but I'm either German or French most of the time.
I do the same thing, Tiny. It's fine.
That's okay. He goes, well, I'm a father too.
Oh. Back in Germany?
Yeah. I don't know if they're alive or dead.
Shouldn't you be trying to get back there?
I do want to get back there and that's the main reason why I want to try and stabilize this region before going back, because if I go back, I don't have support. It's going to be quite tough for me to have backup.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because rumor is that the intel that we got is that Germany is not in a good place compared to here.
Oh. That is a shame.
In other news, what about your story? Are you gonna? He's gonna.
Rostrogam will glance at her uniform and then the place and kind of the rest of the room, and she'll say, "Well, I feel very dirty to be in a place like this. It's all cleaner. Cleanest place I've seen in I don't even know how long."
Oh man, Emil suddenly feels very self-conscious.
You're making the admiral feel, the Commodore feel self-conscious about his It's like, oh, didn't realize.
Okay. After all of you feel self-conscious for a little while, if there's no further
I don't feel
conversation.
self-conscious. I'm used to being in the mud. You know, that's how it is with a sniper.
Yeah, I mean, so far you've only cleared your face full of mud from the tire with a knife. So you're
right. It's camouflage.
you're positively crusty. Okay. After a few minutes of most people feeling self-conscious, a private will emerge. This one is obviously unarmed, and will say, "Oh, salute." Enters the and say, "Please, all of you, come with me." And he gestures, and he leads you deeper into the town hall, and you head up an impressive, grand staircase. Again, there's a lot of this is made out of marble, and brought through what is a ceremonial chamber, which is largely the ceremonial chamber hasn't just been left empty though. It was built as a ceremonial chamber, but there are desks everywhere. People are talking. There's the hubbub of noise and activity. Every now and again, you hear a phone ring, which is interesting. People having these kinds of conversations. Led through that into what was once Grand Mayor's office, and behind it is a slightly older-looking gentleman. He's got a slightly haggard face, but he's very cleanly shaven. His uniform looks as though it's actually been cleaned with detergent. My word. It's properly pressed. He's got short cut grey hair, slightly sunken eyes, and those of you who are familiar with unit markings and insignia markings can tell, one, First Cavalry Division, and two, you are looking at a colonel. He will stand up from behind his desk. He'll salute the Commodore, but he's got shall we say, slightly more lax attitude behind that. Not like insultingly lax, but just relaxed lax. And what the Commodore, if anything, does.
We do salute back, right?
The Commodore salutes back.
Yeah.
Yeah, Emil to them.
Everybody else. Yeah, everybody else. Excellent. He that ceremony ends, and he gestures. There are enough chairs for everyone, sort of vaguely near his very large desk. He gestures. Once you're all seated, he will sit down. Oh, carry on.
Yep. The Commodore sits down, and he points. He doesn't say anything in words, but he just nods to the chairs to the rest, so everyone can have a sit down.
Good evening, everybody. Sorry, I apologize. Good morning, everyone. My name is Colonel Sanderson. I'm told that you have come quite some way through territory controlled by hostile forces, and that your major has been able to establish a functional base at Sestakova.
Yes.
What is the major's plan?
To control. I was sent up here to see if we had any NATO forces up this way, and establish a communication between both the major and you guys.
See, tell me, what is the name of your major?
What's her name again?
Samantha Stratford, isn't it?
That is correct.
Major Samantha Stratford.
There's like the light of recognition in his eyes when you say that name. Say, I see. Tell me, Commodore, your time working with Major Stratford, what is your estimation of her? Is that contained laughing in character?
Basically, he's laughing in his head, and then basically he's like, you do things differently here compared to what she does, which is interesting enough.
How so? How does she do things that are different to here?
She's been having some incidents with when we first came there with the polls, but everything ended up working out perfectly fine after curing the city. But yeah, it came at a cost.
As a matter of interest, what is the party's reaction to everything worked out perfectly fine with dozens, maybe north of 100 dead?
Yeah, Rostergam's kind of glancing down at her hands, remembering all the blood that she had on them, stitching people up.
Yeah.
But she'll say nothing.
But yeah, okay. We're up here to secure
what is Major Stratford's supply situation?
She has at least 25% of what's in the city currently, and we're being asked to see if we can negotiate more. Basically, see where everyone's supply chain is at as well.
Narrows his eyes slightly to say that, and says 25% of what? What was in Sestakova?
There was a vault of supply. She had to sacrifice at least 75% to at least gain control of the city, because she didn't want to.
5%. Who did she sacrifice this 75% to?
50% to the Polish and 25% to the Russians that helped is helping cleaning up the city. That's the problem.
Everyone can give me either a recon or a persuasion roll.
Con. Like, yeah, roll recon. I don't notice shit.
Okay. Alright. The vast majority of people don't actually notice shit. Even Soboslav doesn't, because it was opposed. However, Emil Hara, he does. He notices that as the Commodore was talking about 50% of the polls, there was an attempt at the poker face, but this colonel was not happy to hear that. And then when it moved into 25% to the Russians, he was masterfully holding back shocked disbelief.
All right.
He goes. He goes. It was only 25% to a certain unit. With he continues to talk. It was only to a unit that helped secure a sit down between us and the Polish, which, quite frankly, would have started if one of our soldiers didn't step out of line. One of the U.S. soldiers.
Emil, by the way, doesn't say anything. He will report on this when he's not like in front of the guy.
Yeah, that's sensible. Okay, all right. So at this point, the colonel will say, "So Major Strathford is working with the Russians."
No, not with the Russians. Basically, it was just this one unit was willing to help, and
You cut out.
she's only basically secured a deal with this Pacific unit, not the entire Russians.
I see. Which unit would this be?
They're a special forces unit.
Okay, all right.
They're known for they are known to doing this unit's known to try and get sit downs between two factions.
Okay. He openly takes about 5-10 seconds to just think about what you just said. For continuing saying, I see. Thank you very much for your comments. And is it your intention to return to this major and report our existence?
Dun, dun, dun.
We're actually here to secure alliance. So if the bulk of the Russian forces do attack either us or any other NATO forces, we can at least band together, not be separated.
I understand. Well, if that is to take place, there is something that your major should know. It will not be practical for us to meaningfully cooperate, coordinate, or pass troops up and down the road that connects our two bases until the Soviet presence in Kamyansk is dealt with. I gather that you told the lieutenant that there are a number of paramilitaries there. This is true. However, in our previous involvement, we also believe that there is a concealed Soviet force that operates out of Kamyansk frequently. According to our reconnaissance information, we have seen elements of the 9th Tank Division based on Kamiensk. This presents a significant obstacle to meaningful coordination.
We can actually... The factories. Can you tell me anything about the factories? What are they used for?
Factory in Kamiensk.
What are they primarily known to be bringing out of that factory?
Well, we have not been able to get people inside Kamiensk to answer that question. It is, however, very likely that no factory is used for exactly what its pre-war purpose was. We do, however, believe that that factory is in some way linked to them keeping the armored elements of the 9th Tank Division functional.
Okay. We can... If we may be able to get some leeway for the Polish, our Polish friends, our newfound Polish friends, to actually help us. If they to actually secure a line between us and the rest of you guys, and because they'll be interested in trying and get the city under Polish out of Russian hands.
We do not know the details of the Russian force there, only that it is present and significant, and that it exerts influence around the region. Do, however, know that they appear to have a number of functional T-80s. Therefore, their presence is not to be underestimated. Do you genuinely believe that they are capable of dealing with that many, we don't know exactly how many, but over 4 main battle tanks?
Yes. He just looks at him and says, they won't survive a helicopter attack.
Interesting. I'm going to say that yes, you've got the intelligence roll, so you can make me but you're not going to know this instantly, so you can make me a recon roll flat, and anybody else can make me a recon roll at -1. Ah. Alright. When you mentioned, they're not going to survive against a helicopter, there's a look of skepticism from the colonel. All of you got successes on that. It would not be uncommon for that many vehicles pre-war, also like early war, before everything got blown to hell, to have a shilka with them. You do not know if they have a shilka with them. One has not been seen, but you might want to rule in or out that possibility.
He's going to rule in that. He goes, plus the firepower of the Polish are going to outweigh the capabilities of whatever units in there as well on the ground.
Okay. For those of you who maybe don't immediately know what a shilka is, I'm just going to put that in chat, and most of you will immediately go, "Oh, I know what that is now."
It's scary.
It's bloody terrifying. Which one? I'll put it in the voice lobby chat. It's taking a moment to load. There we go.
Yeah.
That is Yeah, with your intellect roll, you know that if
Where's-
that is there, that is specifically designed to shoot down helicopters and some other stuff as well.
Yeah.
It's also terrifying against ground targets. It's generally terrifying.
Wait, where'd you post it?
Mm,
Oh, I put it in the voice lobby picture chat.
yeah, I don't see it either.
I don't see it.
Oh,
No, it's not popping up.
oh, that's interesting. That is strange. Oh, here we go. It would help if I hit enter.
There it
That
is.
would help.
Yeah.
That would help.
Yeah. He goes, if they do have one of those, then it's going to be very, yeah, we're going to have a little tough time. I'm going to include that into the report so we can get
Whoa,
the
Sorrel.
What happened?
It sounded like you inserted your microphone into your mouth and then blew as hard as you could.
Yeah.
I don't know what caused that.
Or you're in a wind tunnel.
Oh well, I'm sure it'll pass.
So basically, he's going to include that. There could be at least 2 of them there, or maybe 4 of them. Who knows?
Okay.
He's going to keep it as a possibility, but he's going to actually if we can, because he recipes that if we can set up, because if we can get the intel back to the Polish, they can actually help us by relieving that one line and breaking the willpower of the Russians in their land.
Okay.
That means
right.
because that means the majority of their armor pieces aren't going to be made specifically.
Okay, the Colonel sort of gives you a long look, like he's weighing up what you just said, and it's obvious from his general demeanor that whilst he recognizes that you hold a superior rank and is therefore giving you sort of appropriate ceremonial courtesies, it's obvious from his demeanor that he thinks that he is in charge here.
Yeah.
And he'll eventually say, I see, Commodore. Well, that would be an interesting proposal if practicable. I would invite you to relay this information to your major and to indicate our tentative willingness to cooperate in anything that may drive the Soviet forces and their sympathizers out of Kamiensk. I would, however, caution you about relying too much on your new Polish friends.
Yeah.
We have not had much dealings with those in Krakow. Perhaps they behave differently to the ones that we have interacted with. But we tend to find that the Polish army is changeable and not as stalwart as they once were.
Yeah.
In the meantime, however, I will tell you for the purposes of your planning that we have managed to take control of the nearby settlements of Bechetal and Selewal, and we have a very positive working relationship with the native troops, which is largely a civilian militia, in Tomaszał Mierzęcki. They are an outlier of a seemingly quasi-pacifist native group. Though that does them a disservice. They are willing to defend themselves, but they are almost pathologically non-aggressive in their responses, in their general actions.
Is any of them connected to any social groups or anything like that in that city?
Give me one moment. And he goes down and he pulls out a desk drawer brings out some papers, starts flicking through, and you can tell, even upside down, that these are properly laid out, typed out, formal reports. He starts flicking through stuff. He says, yes. And he reads off a line. We have not had any formal dealings with this group, but there are frequent references to a group known as Sanctuary that is operating in that area and further to the north.
I was offered an opportunity to join with them because of Crest Piers. They're in the same boat as well. They're got a aggressive one top attitude.
I see. I'm glad that you did not take up that offer. It's incumbent on all of us to remember where our loyalties lie. But it is interesting to note that they also appear to have operations to the south. Puts that thought away, closes his desk. Says, very well. I do not have much to offer you by way of resupply or refueling. That is sadly something that you will have to deal with yourself. However, you are all invited to rest, recuperate, and spend the remainder of the day here for resuming your mission tomorrow. Temporary guest quarters have already been arranged for all of you. I have also arranged for you to receive a shower, and you are invited to make best use of this town and its many facilities that it can offer. You'll then say, on your way out, you will all be issued with a token. These are often issued to military personnel around here. That is effectively a prepaid meal from any of the locals. If, however, you wish to purchase anything beyond what this token is able to provide, you will have to engage in barter of your own accord. But this will allow you to claim a decent meal from the local civilian population. Unfortunately, I cannot extend an offer to join any of our messes tonight.
That's okay.
Interesting.
Unless there is anything further, and he looks at the entire party.
Nothing from Ostergam.
Nothing for me. He looks at the rest of his team and to see if any of them have anything they need to mention.
Dalton's looking forward to the shower, and that's about it.
All right.
To get the mud off his face.
He's thinking in his back of his head, now the doctor won't be feeling so self-conscious about her being dirty in a clean place.
Okay. Well, in that case, the colonel says, well, if that will be all, and he says, I bid you good day. He stands up, salutes, because the Commodore outranks him, but it is very much a please leave my office moment. You indeed leave, be intercepted by a private outside who will hand you all what look like cardboard tokens that have been sort of filled out, and they read in both English and Polish, good for one meal at, and then a list of venues given to all of you. And so if you would please all follow me, I will take you to your quarters. Interestingly, you're led out of the town hall, across the town square, and then sort of down one street off to the side. And there is a very large building, and written on it in Polish, so Soboslav can understand. It just says the words Grand Hotel. Even those of you who can't read Polish, though, could easily tell this is a hotel when you are taken inside the big lobby. This place isn't as clean, and it looks not abandoned, but neglected. There is a civilian behind the desk.
Hey, wait.
Yeah.
Where's my guns?
Your weapons will be brought to you shortly, sir. They will be brought
Oh,
to
sorry,
you.
I didn't say it like that in character, by the way.
Oh, okay.
But like he was like, Emil did. I was like, our weapons, yes.
Yes, they will be brought to you shortly in your suites, sir.
Oh, thank you.
The civilian behind the desk just sort of gives a nod to the soldier, but otherwise looks away. It's clear that this has all been prearranged. The soldier will say, "Unfortunately, the lifts are inoperable. You will have to take the stairs." And starts climbing up this big, multi-story hotel's worth of stairs. But you're all reasonably fit.
Yeah,
Basically.
reasonably. I got a D.
Basically,
Okay.
he goes, how many floors are we going up?
You are going up, I'm going to say 8 stories.
A lot of the gratitude Emil felt just kind of vaporized.
Basically,
I'm going to turn to Rostergam and kind of half jokingly say, "Well, looks like we're starting on your strength training a little early."
Looks like you're starting on your stamina training a little early.
I'm gonna just to see if.
Carry on.
Can I roll a stamina just to see if
Yeah,
I
do
can
it. Yeah, do it.
I would love to see it because going up 8 stories, yeah.
Okay,
Quite
I'm not going to impose negatives for this. Your soldiers. 8 stories is not nothing, but okay.
I wanted to see if he actually
pulled hiking.
I wanted to see if I actually fell on my face.
Better than his stamina.
I mean, they said the elevators are down, so clearly you succeeded it.
I wanted to see if we actually get our physical in while we're going up to our rooms.
Hey, you might all be a bit puffed out, a little red-faced, but you get there.
It's not horrible. I got a success in my. Yeah, sorry, my stamina is worse than my tech.
That's fine. So you're all led up to the 8th story, and it's again the lights are off. It's starting to get a bit dark. It's clear that not everything here is powered, but it looks semi-clean. It doesn't look as though it's been made dirty. It looks more like people just haven't been in here for ages. But you are brought into, each one of you have your own private hotel suite. The beds are made. There is a mini fridge. There's nothing in the mini fridge, and the mini fridge is off, but it's there.
Damn it! Damn it!
That's okay. Bourbon doesn't require refrigeration.
But yeah, there's like little like kettles and kitchenettes and so forth. Make stuff. It's not working, but it's there. There are wardrobes. There are ensuite. All of you have got private ensuite bathrooms. You are told that the shower system has been made functional. Please do not use it for any more than 10 minutes. But yeah, you have the ability to have a shower, and that if you want, room service can be called on. You don't have the ability to actually call on it. Just you have to say now, I want it in 30 minutes or an hour or whatever it may be, or physically go down and get it. But it might be available.
What kind of room service?
It's not food room service. It's more like people coming in, cleaning, doing your sheets, tending to your clothes, that kind of affair.
And I
don't
request for my clothes to get washed in an hour.
Yep, absolutely.
Yes,
I don't believe
exactly
you.
that.
Yeah.
Exactly
I'm
that.
not sure you've got. Yeah, exactly that. I'm not sure you've got spare sets of clothes. If you do, you can change into them. If not, then you'll be sitting around in your underwear whilst it's cleaned. But yeah.
Oh, it's gonna be a towel. He's gonna have a shower, and then sit around in the sheets.
Fantastic.
Not gonna have a towel around him and in the sheets. Not going to try and do anything. He's just gonna wait for his clothes.
Fantastic. And you've all got good sort of panoramic views of the town from your various hotel suite windows. You're all sort of looking out in different directions, but you can see much what I described on the way in, which is the periphery is a little neglected, the inner areas are better repaired, and with your now elevated position, you can see quite a few people going around living daily life. In the main, civilians, and every now and again you even see a truck, a civilian truck, moving, clearly hauling stuff about. Life is being lived here, not quite as it once was, but life is being lived. Even businesses on the high street, some of them clearly aren't operating, but some of them are trading. There are shops, there are businesses. There's one place that you think might be, is that a cafe? Is that a restaurant? What's going on here? But yeah, that is what you see, and you're left alone to do what you want for this afternoon and evening. About 10 minutes later, people appear with your guns and give them back to you.
Yeah, he's getting ready to have a shower after he gets his guns back.
Okay.
More closer to when he requested to get his clothes cleaned.
Absolutely. That happens without incident. The shower works. It's not a hot shower, but it's a shower. And you are able to get yourself clean. Your clothes are taken away. You are told that they will be returned to you in a couple of hours.
Yep. He's expecting that.
Is there any... Yeah. Do you all sort of just like continue to hang out in your own rooms? Do you gather up? Do any of you take a wander?
He's gonna
with
hang
no
around.
clothes.
Yeah, that would have been interesting.
Yeah, I'm going to strike a pose in front of the big panoramic window with a towel wrapped around my neck like Superman, the whole Superman pose, with no clothes on.
Basically,
okay,
I have a towel. Basically, I have a towel around my waist. I have a towel around my waist. Does anyone want? Yeah.
It's just a decision of like clean clothes or be able to actually explore the town. That is the trade-off that I, as a player, am seeing here.
Well, and the clean clothes won't take the entire afternoon.
Not only that, I mean, we haven't slept in beds in a while. I think I'd be interested in just crawling into bed just to have a good rest before doing anything else while I'm waiting on my clothes. Seeing how the whole Superman pose is out of the question.
Yeah.
Actually, that's not a bad idea. Get in some shut-eye.
While we're waiting for our clues.
All right. Yeah. Well, that passes uneventfully. Everybody's able to relax, sit back, catch 40 winks, and everyone at roughly the same time gets knocks on their doors as somebody is coming along with one of those what looks like old cleaning carts, except it's not got much on it anymore. And they hand your clothes back to you. They are clean. They are slightly warm. They are pressed. This is professionally done, and yeah, you all have spotless clothes given back to you.
Emil just gives the person so much gratitude. He is so thankful. This is a luxury he did not expect to get again.
That's a lot.
Rostogam is just amazed that there's no more blood on her clothes. They even stitched up the hole in the arm.
Oh, we can fix that.
They'll fix that. And yeah, if there are holes, those are fixed and repaired. If it's a case of just a whole patch of cloth is missing, the point where a stitch won't deal with it, then they will have found the closest possible material and patched.
Dalton would look at his clothes appreciatively that they're clean, but kind of raise an eyebrow at the pressing because he knows that under the military uniform code, pressing uniform defeats the purpose of camouflage, and immediately would wrinkle it all back up before he puts it back on.
Yep, that is a sensible thing. Note, by the way, that the person who gave this back to you was not in uniform. It was definitely a civilian.
Right. They wouldn't necessarily know.
Yep.
Yeah. I'm very thankful to the person who gave me my clothes back.
Excellent. So, that takes you through the afternoon, that sort of waiting period. It is now evening time. The sun is starting to come down, but it's not yet below the horizon. And you are, again, just in the hotel. Do you want to stay here, or do you want to head out?
Head out to get some food.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Rostogam would
I just go.
People are still milling outside.
Sorry, say again, Rostogam?
She'd be looking out to see, like, are people still, like, are there people still moving around at nighttime, or, like, yeah.
Yeah, that they are, and there
not
appears
like a
to
nightlife,
be.
but you know.
Yeah, not an.
You're not going clubbing, are you?
No. After I said that, I was like, crap. That's what people are going to think. No. Just like, does everyone, like, does the town kind of close down at a certain time? Have we passed that time? That's all I'm getting at.
If it does, you haven't seen it yet. And with your sort of vigilant watch over the 2 row of people, at about 6-ish, you notice that there's a swell of people who appear, and looking at their clothes and so forth, which is a bit difficult from 8 stories up, but yeah, you squint. You kind of get the feeling that this is linked to a shift change at the factory, and like the previous shift has come out and is now taking advantage of the fact that there appears to be a functional town.
Basically, I knock on all the guys, all the team's door and say, you guys want to go for food?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
You go down the stairs. It's easier than coming up. You go down the stairs.
I still think Emil ought to roll a stamina roll in case he trips and falls.
I think Emil,
because of his own age.
Emil and only Emil, give me a stamina.
Oh, damn it.
He's fine.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, he's showing his young
It's all
whippersnappers.
fast.
Yeah, he's keeping up with this. The old man has.
Head down the stairs. You note that these stairs might be interesting when it gets properly dark, because there are no lights. But or if they are, they're not on. But you get to the bottom of the stairs. The lobby, again, is there. The attendant just says, "Have a good evening. Our doors will remain open all night." And just goes back to her business.
Rostogam,
looking at your... Carry on.
Would kind of move over to the attendant and say, what would you recommend for a meal around here?
She sort of pauses and then says in slightly broken English, but not horribly broken English, are you using the cards, or will you be paying?
Cards tonight.
Yeah, cards.
In that case, the cards are limited only to a certain number of places. The best places in town. No, she shakes her head as though the cards won't work there. And then says, "But do you want to go for a drink? Do you want something a bit lighter, or do you want a proper meal?"
He looks at the cardboard, what places are available and where they are.
It's actually just a list of names of businesses. It's not obvious what they all are.
They'll ask her.
Yeah.
What they are.
Oh, well, this is, and she starts going through it one by one. And effectively, what you've got on the list is a bar, a cafe, and then 2 restaurants are on there.
I would like a proper meal.
Yeah.
In that case, going to these 2 places, and she points at the 2 restaurants, would be your best choices. The menus are not what they were, but they are not anywhere. This place, and she points at one of them, has more of a business for the native customers. This place, she taps the other one, tries to cater more to American tastes.
I look at the one that caters more towards the Polish. He goes, he brings salsa with him and goes, "Oh, we know where we're going, Draco."
I'll go with you.
I'm going towards the Polish one. More catering to the Polish.
Hell yeah, dude.
Rostergam would think
that European shit.
You were saying, Rostergam?
Would thank the desk attendant and
thank you.
Just kind of make her way out. Not really say where she's going. She'll figure it out once she's outside.
Absolutely. Well, when you get outside, the air is not exactly clean, but at least crisp. There's a bit more of noise of hustle and bustle. At one point, I believe you can hear cattle being driven, which is interesting. And the attendant would say, "Oh, well, if you do wish to go to the Polish restaurant, it is 3 streets away, and then take a left." Gives you directions.
Oh, wait! Before we go, I have a question, if I may.
Yep.
Do you have heating here for the winter?
We have what we need for the winter. Not all buildings, and it's clear that she's starting to get to the edge of her English. But we have what we need.
Thank you. And he walks aside.
Okay. Yeah.
I drag Draco with me outside to go to the Polish restaurant.
Fantastic.
Where he can eat.
As you were walking along, you are surrounded by a town that is living. The cattle that I previously mentioned, you sort of look down the street and you see them being driven. They take up the whole road in a way they previously never would have been allowed to, but they're being driven down. Some of them are hauling carts. You see 1 or 2 trucks go by. Again, those are all very clearly either to or from the factory that's something at the far end of town. People are milling about. They're talking. They're having idle conversations. Some of them seem happy. Some of them seem sad. Walk past one place that wasn't on your card, and there is some raucous singing coming out from inside, and some shall we say, poorly tuned, enthusiastically played instruments. But after a while, you get to the restaurant that you've decided to go to. It's
on the way there.
Carry on. Yes.
Emil will say, sort of cheeky, sort of serious. This would be maybe a nice place to maybe just stay.
Does anybody else have an immediate reaction to that comment?
I don't think Rostergam is with them, so she didn't.
Oh, is Rostergam going somewhere else?
I imagine that she probably has just stopped and is staring. So probably everyone else has moved on, and she's just kind of, I don't know, just not really sure what to do. I don't know. She's not sure what to make of what she's seeing in front of her. So unfortunately, yes, this would have been a great conversation to be part of, but she's probably not within earshot anymore.
Yeah, and Dalton would have been headed toward whatever restaurant was recommended for the American cuisine, so I wouldn't have been there either.
Okay. So that leaves Draco and the Commodore.
Well?
Alright. Immediate comments. So, in that case, yeah, you make that idle observation, but no to respond to it, but you head to the Polish restaurant. When you get there, it is clearly a pre-war restaurant that they've just kept using. There's sort of terrace seat, balcony seating, not balcony, terrace seating outside. People sitting around. Some of them are smoking, having a chat. There is the sound of gentle kind of lounge jazz music coming from inside. As you go in, you find that there are actually a couple of people just playing instruments in the corner, giving the place mood. And as you walk in, that there is a bar and barman, although it's clearly not the purpose of this place. Most people are actually having proper meals. Just gestures at an empty table that is big enough for the three of you to all sit down at. When you get there, there's a menu just lying on the table in Polish. It is a very short menu. There's not much on it, but it does at least exist.
Oh,
yeah. So basically, he turns to Drago. What does the it say?
Sorry, I kind of got distracted because trying to make sure my cat doesn't accidentally turn off the PC.
He points to the Polish food.
Oh, that.
He points to the Polish menu. Goes, what does it say?
Yeah, please
you can
help
tell.
me.
Yeah, you can tell Soboslav that there's pierogi. Of course, there's pierogi. There has to be.
Oh, there's always the universal Polish constant of pierogi.
Yep. There's also
as well as
going to... Yeah, there's also going to be... Oh, interesting. Kotlet Shaboy, which is notable because it's a pork dish. Like, these guys have got meat.
There's Kotlet Shaboy. There's also, practically pork.
Yep. And there's also a sort of vegetable-only goulash that people have.
Well, I suppose if you want the vegetarian choice, there's the goulash.
Yep. And then in terms of drinking, your options are limited to water and beer. That is it. It is no more sophisticated than that.
And the only two drinks is either water or beer. That's pretty much
Which one is the most filling? The most of? The biggest?
It's impossible to tell.
I'm going to go with the pork.
Yeah,
alright.
Pork and water.
Alright.
Pierogi and beer.
Yeah, pierogi and beer. Fantastic. Okay, the venue around you... Oh, sorry, Draco, you were saying?
I have 2 cats on my lap. Help me.
I'm sorry, you're going to have to solve that yourself. It sounds like a problem I'd like to have. Okay.
And the other one's a big Russian blue.
Anyway, so the general vibe of the place around you is relaxed. Some of you kind of get looks as you come in, but they quickly go back to their own affairs. People are talking, people are having a chat. Every now and again, you're aware of the sounds of children, as there are clearly families having meals here.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And in terms of how well they are turned out, clearly these people are slightly down on what they were compared to the pre-war. So their clothing is a bit scruffy. It's not entirely clean. It's obviously patched, but they're not wearing sacks. And you, however, get the feeling that some people are weirdly too well dressed, particularly the ladies, but not always. So a restaurant like this, you'd expect people to come out smart casual. There are 1 or 2 people here who are dressed in really nice suits, really nice dresses, very showy, lots of jewelry, pearl necklaces, rings, way too fancy for this kind of a place pre-war.
Are we gonna eat the rich?
Sorry, what was that, Tiny?
Are we gonna eat the rich? Because I'm down.
That's entirely up to you. When your food arrives, it is exactly as described. The portion sizes I am going to describe as medium. They are not huge, but they're not skimpy. And your various drinks, as they are. The water is just room temperature if you ordered that, and the beer is mildly carbonated alcoholic pee, but
that's some good beer.
Damn.
That's the best beer I've had in a while.
Even Jeremy doesn't drink that. But surprisingly,
it is at least technically beer. But yeah, this is even looking, and it's suspiciously cloudy. It is obvious that this is the sort of thing that somebody's just made in a still out the back, but it exists. But yeah, you sit down. Do you have a conversation whilst you're here, or do you just sort of eat and move on with the day?
we can have a full-on conversation while we're here. So the Commodore just starts chatting to you guys.
Mm-hmm.
Emil is very chatty. He is always happy to talk about stuff.
All right. If you want to RP that, we can. You can sort of think about what you might want to do in the back of your mind, but I'm going to move the cameras over to Rostogram and Dalton, who are technically separated. So we'll start with Rostogram. Rostogram, you're just standing in the street looking at people living their lives. Mm-hmm. Eventually you come to your senses, I assume.
Yeah.
What do you do?
She's thinking of the 8 flights of... Well, she thinks back to, I'm going to have to climb up 8 flights of stairs after a meal. So, probably don't want to go too heavy. So she's actually going to head to the cafe. Which I know is wonderful because, yes, she's going to be all by herself. But that's what she's going to... I mean, unless she can't read anything or talk to anybody in there. If it's all Polish, then she'll exit out. But if it looks like she could get something there, then that's where she would go.
Yeah. When you go there, you find that this place has got a slightly higher proportion of uniformed army in it. They do not appear to be armed, and although they're still in uniform, they're very much giving an off kind of air to them. Probably in reality, or in the pre-war world, do what they're doing, they should have changed into civilian clothing, but you're not surprised that is no longer a realistic option. And it's still, I'd say, about 70% Polish, 30% US Army. It is notable, perhaps, that they are on segregated tables. Not in a kind of, this is an army zone, this is a Polish zone, but that's just naturally how it's developed. And menu is clearly primarily in Polish, and it's printed and laminated. So this menu existed pre-war. However, with great big black marker pen, most of the options have been crossed out, and the options that still exist have English translations written under them in marker pen. And you're given you're given the options of water, tea, vodka, beer, and there's no coffee. You are also, despite being a cafe, the tea, as a side note, next to it has like bracket no milk close bracket. In terms of food, there appear to be salad options mainly. But you also notice what appears to be some kind of potato-based meal or a rice-based meal. But they're very simple, sort of evolutions on stir fries, really.
All right. Tea, and then as far as for food would go, what are so if she can clearly see the American side versus the Polish side of the table or of the layout, can she see what people are eating?
Yeah, she can. And in terms of what people are eating, it's a real even mix of all of the options. There doesn't appear to be a clear favorite or clear thing that everybody is avoiding, except maybe the beer.
I'll be right back.
Of course, Danny. But you're not quite sure if that's because the beer is bad or because people who want to go drink beer don't come here.
Probably, I don't know, I guess the rice-based dish is what she would get.
All right. She gets that. It takes about 20 minutes to appear. And when it does, it's clearly just rice and vegetables. That's what it is. It's not fancy. It's I'm gonna say sauceless because there is no sauce. It's just rice and veg. And when the tea comes, it is, you don't get a tea bag. It's pre-made, and you can tell this is weak. It's like they're stretching the definition of what tea is, but it is still tea. And it does still exist, but it's more like tea-flavored hot water, but they've made an effort.
She will smile and thank the person who gave the food and the tea. Take a seat. Not particularly close to any, I don't know, if there's a bit more isolated of a spot, that's where she's wanting to go. And she will, before she eats, so she will cross herself and mutter a prayer. I don't know if this is like if there's a lot of overlapping conversation, if it's a louder cafe or if it's pretty quiet. But she's not trying to necessarily be heard and broadcast that she's there.
Yeah. I would say it's mid-zone, it's mid-level, so you don't have to talk loudly to be heard. But there's a pleasant bustle of chat.
Okay. But yeah, so she'll just kind of say a quiet prayer and then just start to eat.
Fantastic. If you're seeking isolation, the only options for solo seating are the sort of stool in a window options.
Oh, perfect.
But you're able to find one of those and can watch the world go by. And it does. You're vaguely aware in the reflective surface of the glass in front of you that every now and again people, particularly the army personnel, are sort of looking over at you, having a conversation amongst themselves, looking at you again, and then just going back to their own affair and leaving you alone. But you've been noticed. Whilst the world outside seems to ignore you, as largely civilians are just going about their daily lives. It's obvious that things are not what they were, that there has been a downgrade of pretty much everything. But nonetheless, there are people living, and they don't appear to be terrified or starving.
Mm-hmm.
Alright. We move the camera.
I know what she's doing next, so we should probably move to someone else.
Alright. Ooh, I look forward to this. We move the camera to Dalton. So, Dalton, you are heading to the US tailored place.
Right.
As you head towards it, you can see what is very clearly an Italian restaurant, or what was an Italian restaurant, judging by the sort of green, white, and red tricolor and so forth outside, and all that kind of classic stuff. That has been wiped out, scribbled away. Some of it's been taken down. A US flag has been put up over the Italian tricolor. When you go in, there are still elements of the slightly cliche Italian restaurant inside, those kinds of decorations that you're thinking of, but a lot of they're sort of weirdly intermingled with, again, US flags. Somebody has attempted to paint on the wall over what was once a sort of canal scene. Instead, they've attempted to paint on the Statue of Liberty. You can tell that whoever painted this has never seen the Statue of Liberty, but they gave it their best try. And again, things have been painted on the walls that are reminiscent of cliche American scenes. Like, someone only understands what Americans are from movies from the 50s.
Oh, boy. So a bunch of cowboys, right?
There is definitely a sort of sunset cowboy on one of the walls. That does exist.
Right. Yeah, that's what I figured.
Yep. This one's definitely got more American personnel in it. They are occasionally elbowing one another and pointing and having a little bit of a chuckle at some of this stuff, but also there's kind of an air of they're grateful for the fact that someone's trying. They're getting it wrong, but someone's trying.
Right.
The menu, it actually has, it's got fries on it. This is the first time that you've seen fries mentioned anywhere in a very, very long time. It's got fries on it. It actually has a hamburger on it. However, somebody has written in really small print. Also, this is just written on a piece of A4 paper. This is not neatly presented. But somebody's written in really small print, not 100% beef. Somebody has also put on mac and cheese on there, but then asterisks, European style. It's not quite clear what a European style mac and cheese is, but it's open to you. And if you think of any more very stereotypically American foods that you might want to eat, tell me, and then I'll tell you what this restaurant's version of that will be.
Yeah, I think, my own personal taste would be I'd just be looking for a steak and a baked potato.
All right, the baked potato they can definitely do. That is not going to be a problem. The steak, it's there. They
not 100% beef.
Yeah, there is that. Yeah. Actually, no. On that one, no, you can't really have a not 100% beef steak. You can do it with a hamburger because you can seal stuff into gristle. But no,
Sure.
the steak is 100% beef. When it's brought out to you, there is a lot of potato, not much beef. It's there, it exists, but you can tell they're trying to make their meat go a long way.
Well, a taste is better than a thought, so
yeah, absolutely. When you ask for that, there's actually a bit of like to and fro in Polish amongst the staff until one of the Americans present says something else in Polish, and then they come out and they bring you the meal. Since you don't speak Polish, you will have no idea what's going on unless you ask.
Does it seem suspicious, or are they just trying to translate my order?
No, the Polish staff here, because it's a civilian-run business, very obviously speak good English and are used to dealing with Americans, so nobody had to translate your order for you. It's like they were talking about your order.
I'm just going to let it go. I'm not going to question it.
Absolutely fine. And yeah, it's brought out to you, and it's fine. It's well cooked. It is artfully done. They don't offer you any sauces because they don't have that. In terms of drink, what would you like? Your choices are, water, beer, vodka. That's it.
Yeah, I think I'll stick with water because the beer doesn't sound. I don't want to have to chew my beer, and I don't know what the vodka is. So
fair enough. When the water is brought out to you, as you feel the glass, it's slightly warm, as though you could tell that this was boiled not long ago and they've let it cool down. But you nonetheless have water.
That's fine.
Okay. And you're aware at one point of the person who's clearly the sort of restaurateur talking lightheartedly with some of the American service personnel who are clearly regulars here. And you hear the comment said with affection from the US troop that, no, we don't want to hear your one Garth Brooks album for the 1000th time.
I think I would just kind of smirk at that and kind of nod in agreement, and then start eating my meal. I'd look around the room, kind of find out, what the average soldier rank is in here, just out of curiosity, but just observing what's going on more than anything.
Yeah. Notice that everyone in the room with you is either private NCO or WO. There are no commissioned officers here. It is, however, a pretty proportionate mix of all of those people. It's not disproportionately favoured by any one group. The proportions here are what you would expect if everyone came. At one point, though, you do notice a commissioned officer walk in, and they are taken to a separate room in the back.
Ah, that's interesting. All right, well, I mean, that's not unusual. I mean, officers' mess is kept separate from, enlisted mess. So,
aren't you an officer?
I'm a NCO, senior NCO, sergeant first class.
Oh shit, that's right.
Yeah,
My bad.
I'm like an E7. I'm not like an E7. I am an E7.
Also, when you sit down, do you go to a little table? Often, because you're given a choice, a little table off in the corner that is effectively a subtle sign for "please don't talk to me," or do you choose to go at one of the sort of the big tables nearer the middle, where it's obvious that the general tone is everybody talks to everybody, even if you've never met one another before?
Well, I wouldn't necessarily be standoffish in a way to say leave me alone, but Snipers tend to be loners, and I would kind of position myself to overhear what's going on more than trying to engage, you know. But I'm not trying to be standoffish either. I'm just, a senior NCO trying not to, get in the middle of lower rank conversation and just kind of listening to what's being said, trying to pick up on anything that's going on that we might find interesting.
All right. You can give me a recon roll for your general eavesdropping. Yeah.
A blown
You
eardrum.
have. Yep. Well, not that bad. You have a great deal of difficulty picking out any one particular conversation. You just kind of get lost in the humdrum of conversation. Every now and again, you pick out like individual lines, but it's nothing interesting. It's people talking about, did you hear what Corporal such and such did today? Or, I can't wait until.
Yeah, generic gossip stuff. Yeah, okay.
All right. I'll pivot briefly over to Emil, the Commodore, and Soboslaw. Do anything in particular during your meal other than have a generic chat, or is there something you actively discuss as a group?
We're just having a generic conversation.
Yeah.
Okay. In that case, I'll pivot the camera over whoosh, to Rostergram. You sounded like you had a plan. Not sure Kriebel is here.
Sorry, I just sat down again.
Oh.
So, sorry, I missed whatever has been happening for the last couple minutes.
Nope. People went and had their amusing meals, but nothing, vital occurred.
Okay, no one died or anything? No one
died, no one's got food poisoning, no one's overheard anything shocking, but people, I presumably, have been slightly surprised at just how normal life is here. But we now pan the camera back to you. It sounded like you had a plan.
So these Americans, these Americans, are they? So they're in uniform. Are they higher rank, presumably, than Rostergam?
In the cafe, you don't notice any commissioned officers, but you notice a blend of pretty much everyone else. So the majority of them outrank you.
Okay. And as a player, I don't know if she was supposed to be saluting anybody when she came in. I'm assuming it was probably okay to not. She would know better.
Yes, you notice that no one. Yeah, you notice that no one is saluting anyone, no matter what rank, and you also notice that, which I don't know if this is the case in the U.S. Army, but in the British Army, you don't salute someone if they're not wearing their hat.
That's sort of true. It depends on the situation. So if you're reporting officially to an officer that's behind a desk, they would not be wearing their hat, but you would still salute. In almost any other situation, especially if you're off duty and in the mess, no.
Yeah, that is true. I forgot about the desk thing. So yeah, it seems like the same sort of thing. And yeah, nobody is wearing a hat, so it wouldn't be expected for the saluting situation.
Okay. Just wanted to clear that out before. So if she's still getting an occasional look, she might. Well, no, she will. Just kind of nod and paste what she hopes is a friendly grin across her face.
Yep. That happens unless you give very obviously open "please come talk to me" body language. You'll otherwise be left alone. If you do give that body language, people will come up and talk to you. If you that whole sort of ear slightly closed off, back to the room, clearly in thought, you'll be left alone.
When she finishes her food, she'll be a bit more open to conversation. But she does not want to have to deal with talking with her mouth full or anything like that.
Okay. After a couple of minutes, and you've got that slightly sort of like turned at the side thing, somebody will come up and sit on the stool next to you. They have a cup of air quote tea as well. They don't actually have any food. And they'll say, "Good evening, ma'am. I don't think I've seen you around in these parts before."
Good evening. It's probably because I'm new.
You. It's been a long time since we've seen anyone new. He turns around and he sticks out a hand. I am Corporal Jameson.
Dr. Restergam. And she'll reach out, shake his hand.
Doctor? Oh, he's very obviously impressed by that. Don't normally get your types around here. It's very good to see you, Doctor. You planning on sticking around?
It kind of depends on what the rest of my outfit is wanting.
Whole outfits come here. He looks genuinely surprised by this. And then you clearly see that he's looking at your arms and not seeing 1st Cavalry insignia. So he says, "Oh, what outfit are you with?"
She'll think about that one for a minute. Because out of character question, is outfit the right word that I should be using? Because if it's implying like 20-something people, then that's obviously not the right word.
Yeah, now, outfit is a vague term.
All right, cool.
Outfit could apply to a handful of people. It could apply to several thousand people. It's vague.
She will say, after a bit of a pause, she'll say, "I think majority of them are 6th Mechanized Infantry."
Oh, his face visibly falls at that. "I hear you guys got banged up real bad around Lords."
Yeah, I believe I was... I don't really remember much of Lodz, honestly. But... because I think out of character, that might have been the one thing I was not present for. But
Yeah.
And in character, that means that she was basically not around, so... yeah, she wouldn't remember that as much. Unless her previous unit was there, but I don't think that would have been the case.
No, they would have been in the near. They also got banged up, but not as bad and not at Lodz.
Mm-hmm.
If you miss Lodz...
I mean, I can see from some of the others, though, that it was not good.
If you missed it, I'm glad, but it's a shame that these sort of things happen. How you come from outside? How is the rest of the world doing? How's the rest of the army? How's Poland?
Well, there's a lot of life here. I don't quite see that as much in the rest of Poland that I have seen, anyway. It's a big country.
Yeah. He looks around, he looks outside, and says, "It wasn't always like this. This place was pretty bad in the early days. I'm really glad that we've managed to get it back up to something like this. Although I say we just sort of kept it safe. It's locals done most of the work."
Yeah. Do you know if these are... when you say locals, you mean people who've been living in the city all their lives, or just other Polish who have come in?
Yeah, mix of the two. Most of the people have been living here all their lives, but, when the war really started heating up, refugees and people just came in from every direction, flowing in, flowing out real fast.
Okay. When did you come here?
Well, we took this place early on in Operation Reset. We dug our heels in and didn't move. The Russians bypassed us, cut us off, which is why we're hacked, but, well, we are isolated.
I see. She'll glance back out the window again, just thinking, trying to gather her thoughts. It's been a whirlwind of a day for her.
Well, one of the reasons why we haven't seen any new people is because we've been isolated, and you're clearly not one of us. I don't mean to be rude, but you're not 1st Cavalry.
She'll smirk a bit.
Where have you come from? He smirks back, but yeah. But his question still stands when he's asking, where have you come from? And what direction?
Oh, okay. He means where did... Okay, that. She was going to be like, I come from the U.S., but you already knew that. Anyway. We came from the South.
The South's opening up?
Depends on how you look at it, I guess. Because she's trying to remember all the cities. And of course they're Polish cities, and she has not quite learned any Polish yet. So this is going to be fun for her. But I know that we met up and stayed in Praska for a time. Visited the village of Crespis. And then Shestakova.
Shestikova's open? I heard there was nothing but Reds between us and Krakow. It seems that's not the case.
Nope. Not entirely.
Well, that's some real good news you've brought me, Doctor. That's real good news. I know the boys are going to be happy to hear about this.
Yeah, well, being lower on the leadership totem pole, I'm not quite sure what where my major would stand with your commanding officer, but who knows? Maybe there's still hope for, yeah. Because I couldn't help but notice it seems like while there's a lot of rebuilding efforts going on here, that for for a military stronghold, it seems like there's not a lot of firepower. If you don't mind my saying so.
Yeah, he'll lean in and say, well, ain't exactly wrong. Got the kit. Well, we've got the kit better than most people have got it. I mean, everybody's low on everything, and they were for months, years, but so it's nothing like we had before the war started, but compared to lots of other people when the war ended, and you can sort of hear the air quotes there, we're in a better position vehicle-wise than most. The problem is, we ain't got a drop of fuel. There's just stuff sitting in hangars.
In hangars? You have aircraft here? Or you know of
He
where
leans
they are?
back and goes, I know that it's a bit of a cliche. I mean, we're 1st Cavalry. We don't all run around in helicopters, but it's kind of what we're famous for.
I guess I shouldn't be surprised anymore at what's in the air these days.
You've seen aircraft?
Yeah.
Where? What kind?
Well, my specialty is in medicine, so I may not have the model exactly right. I do know it could have killed me if I hadn't been able to run faster.
Aircraft will do that, but like what kind of aircraft? Okay, and it's as though he's thinking that okay, this woman isn't hot in her recognition. Was it a plane or a helicopter?
It was a. I'm trying to remember what it, like out of character. I'm trying to remember. It was we called it it was a Healy, I think. Is what we said.
Well, it was a Hind.
Started with
but like if you say Hind, yeah. But it was definitely a helicopter, and even in the world of not quite recognizing what kind of helicopter is what. You tell what's the Hind does, yes, carry troops. It's not your classic troop transport helicopter. It's this weird blend of a troop transport and a gunship, leaning more on gunship.
Okay. Well, I at least know it was a helicopter. And there was pretty significant firepower aboard that helicopter.
Firepower as well. They got ammunition. Damn. Who was flying it? Was it the Reds?
No.
It was us?
No.
Then who?
She'll look back out at the city again, and then she'll say, "You said yourself the war's not over. I think it was a Polish contingent, but who knows exactly where different loyalties lie when it comes to the..."
Yeah, he looks visibly concerned. He thinks, I didn't even think... I would never have guessed the Poles were able to keep their helicopters. I think they'd be the first to lose them. And hostile Poles? He leans in and says, Doctor, look, you should be telling senior officers about this, but don't let that get out, okay? And his voice has really dropped. Because he's saying, like, if people hear, and he's really lowered his voice, and he's sort of conspiratorial, and he's looking around to see who might be close enough to hear, and he's seeing only US personnel. If people here started hearing about Poles and Americans fighting each other with gunships and lots of death. You didn't mention gunship. With helicopters and lots of death, stuff could spiral out of control, you know? We're living amongst the Poles, but if our guys start hearing that the Poles are attacking us, I don't know what they're going to do. And if the Poles start hearing that their guys are attacking us, I don't know what the civilians are going to do. So, like, shh. And he puts a finger against his lips.
Rostergam will nod. Then I trust that you're not bringing this... I trust you won't be telling anybody else then.
Well, have you told an officer about this?
Alright, out of character to the rest of the party. Did this conversation happen already with the Colonel earlier?
Yes.
Yeah, but you didn't specifically mention helicopters.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. I missed that part of it.
That's fine. Yes, but yeah, this guy wouldn't know no matter what. And it's like, but also that means they've got the fuel for it. I mean, we haven't had fuel in months. Our stuff's just sitting there. It's the only reason why it hasn't been blown to hell, because it can't fly. If it flew, I'm sure the Russians would have done their best to blow it up anyway.
Plus, you would know, Master Kriebel, that we have a a trade agreement with them as well. Now, so we can actually get fuel.
Well, she's not saying that part, I guess. But anyway.
Well, yeah, I mean, the ammunition as well. I mean, when we realized our helicopters weren't going to be flying again anytime soon, we did what we could to repurpose their weapons and ammunition, but, you know, some of it just can't be used. But if we could get fuel for them, then we might actually be able to punch out of our hole. But as it is, they ain't going anywhere fast.
Yeah. Although for a hole, it is pretty nice compared to the other places I've been.
Smiles and says thank you, and We're pleased to hear that, but, well, up until I talked to you, we believed that there were Russians on all sides of us. We've got Vegetal, we've got Celeo, and that's where we're getting most of our food from. But if the Russians were to attack there and take it, this, and he gestures to the town, starts getting real ugly real fast. You ever heard the phrase that civilization is just 3 square meals from anarchy? And he kind of gives you that, yeah, look.
She'll nod.
Yeah, we've got some stuff stored up, I think. I don't know where the stores are, but we got stuff stored for the winter. I know that, but again, situation could spiral.
I see your point.
Well, I didn't mean to bring you down, Doctor. I came over here wanting to give you a nice talk and everybody to leave with a smile. I'm sorry about that.
She'll smile in response to that, just kind of almost self-conscious, like, oh gosh, that's not what I meant to do.
But hey, I'm glad that you've come here, Doc. We always need a good medical person, and I'm glad that this place seems to be doing better than the rest of the world. I don't know if you'd plan on sticking around.
Like I said, that's not entirely my decision, but I'll take it into consideration.
Orders. You say you live by a major?
Yeah. Although, truthfully, I answer to who my team answers to. The comment, let me clarify that, because that's going to sound really bad.
Yeah, when you say that, he just assumes God.
Yeah, I trust the Commodore. Knows what he's doing.
That's an interesting turn up for the books, because I was thinking if there was a major around that, Colonel might just absorb the major's outfit, but if a Commodore's in the mix, plus, not everybody can be relied on to follow orders anymore. I hear some very disturbing things.
For a moment, that brings her thoughts over to another sergeant she once knew before he was. But anyway,
well,
either
way. Oh, carry on.
Yeah, she'll say so. Yeah, I may be a doctor, but I know where my rank is, and it's not anywhere high. So I know there's a chain of command that I still need to follow.
Tell you what, Doctor, you planning on hanging around this cozy little joint for the rest of the evening?
Until I'm too tired, possibly. Or if
well, in that case,
in her head, she's like, if I also see anyone from my team waving me to hurry up, then. But
well, in that case, the next one is on me, Doctor. And he'll gesture at the bar section of the cafe and tap the tea and signal for 2 more, and eventually 2 more air quote teas will be brought over to you. And he passes over something in his hand. Can't quite make out what it is, but it's clearly intended as payment for both of you. And he'll just keep chatting to you. He'll be asking you about where you came from, your home in the United States, and he'll be trying to sort of do. And we can do this in roleplay if you want, but I'm aware of the time. He'll be doing swapping anecdotal stories of like childhood and the good old days, and it's almost like he's trying to forget the war ever happened. We're all still 17 and in our hometowns kind of conversation.
Well, I mean, kind of when she was 17, she was already in college. But anyway.
Yeah. So it's clear that he did not have as a prestigiously academic life as the Doctor.
Yeah. The 25-year-old doctor, yeah. She had to... Anyway, but yeah, I agree. Like, if I realize everyone else probably is wanting to do some more of their game time too, so I don't want to eat into that.
Oh, no. Absolutely. Okay. So we know that the Team Polish Restaurant have a genetic conversation. I think Team Dalton, it's just Dalton, have wrapped up their bit. So your meals are at an end. What do you want to do next? It's mid-evening. The town has wound down slightly. This place doesn't have a buzzing nightlife, but there's stuff happening.
I think I would leave the restaurant and then kind of just in an appearing aimless manner start to drift toward the factory to see if I can't, see what they're all about over there. I'm not purposefully spying, but I'm just kind of walking around looking, and I'm attracted to the smokestack, and just out of curiosity, I would just kind of wander that way.
Okay. It's not difficult as you wander that way. You're not molested or intercepted. Nothing weird happens. As you, however,
and I was so looking for being molested.
As you approach the factory, you are aware that it is walled off, and what would once have been just a chain link perimeter fence, as you would get around most factories and their car parks, has been reinforced. It is opaque, as in it is a wall now, made up partly of like concrete slabs, partly bricks, partly corrugated iron. They've clearly gotten all sorts of different things from all sorts of different places and just improvised a wall with barbed wire at the top. Entrances and exits are all quite heavily guarded. It's not just like 4 guards standing around in the open. It is checkpoints, it is sandbags, it is not full-on pillboxes, but heading in that direction. And
is it military or is it civilian?
It's guards? Military. It's military. It appears to be civilian workers, military guards.
American military, I presume.
That is correct. And unless you, at one point, let's say you hang around, you see a truck come out. You can't actually see what the truck is carrying. There's a tarpaulin over it. It's not an open truck. So unless you get inside one of the trucks or you get past that checkpoint, it's going to be difficult to learn more. Unless you have an idea.
No, I'm just going to wander by and just kind of keep an eye on it. Kind of as I walk by a checkpoint, just kind of, I'm not going to approach them. I'm just walking by, just kind of smile and wave at them and just keep going like I'm just wandering the streets.
Okay, you do that. They don't wave back, but they give you a nod. Can, however, tell in your very perceptive self that at least one of the guards keeps watching you for a while. He doesn't do anything, but it is clear that you have been noticed. But other than that, you have just been noticed. They haven't done or do anything about it.
Yeah, that wouldn't be a surprise considering I don't have the 1st Cavalry patch on my arm. It's a pretty big, noticeable patch, so.
Yeah.
So that's not a surprise. Yeah, I would just continue wandering around until I ended up back at the hotel.
Fantastic. All right, you end up back at the hotel. At Team Polish Restaurant. What do you do after your meal concludes?
Very interesting. He walks outside. The Commodore actually walks outside and stands outside waiting for everyone else when they're ready to get going.
After finishing the POK.
Yep, it's very good pierogi.
It is really good pierogi.
It is. Yeah, you
it's
had
also
a good warm meal.
You fucking dare insult my Polish blood.
it's the first time he's had like a real meal in so long. Like this is like cooked and like not just over a fire. It's not just stuff thrown together because that's what they have. It's like, whoa,
Not anything haphazardly done, right?
yeah. So he savors it and he's very happy. And very talkative too. Like all their just like generic bullshit that they talk about. Like he's very happy to be included and
Meanwhile, Soboslaw is actually just listening to all of his rambles.
yeah.
As he's just quietly just reminiscing about his mother's pierogies.
What sort of things does Emil ramble about?
Just I guess life, stuff that he misses. Like, oh wow, and like wow, look at the stuff they have here. They got all this and this and this, man. Wouldn't it be nice to stay here? Wouldn't it be nice to live here? Oh, it must be so cozy, and so on and so forth. Nothing actually exciting. Not unless, like, if the conversation ever goes towards like talking about like serious stuff, like the situation or like what's going on. He might he might say something different, but otherwise, this feels very casual and just like, hey, we're like hanging out and we're in public, so.
All right. Well, that's fantastic. The meal wraps up. You presumably both join the Commodore on the street.
Mm-hmm.
Do you further, as a trio, do you further explore the town, or do you head back to the hotel?
I follow the Commodore.
Do you just want to explore the town?
I'm good.
He goes, oh, the meal actually reminds me of somebody I used to date when I was younger.
Me?
The meal. The food I had.
The meal.
I know.
Like this old man, like, are you sure? Sorry. Oh, really?
Yeah, she was Polish.
Oh, that's lovely.
I'm wondering whatever did happen to her.
Well, hopefully nothing. Hopefully she's happy how she is. We can hope.
But yeah, I met her when I was actually in England at the time, quite surprisingly.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Why were you in England?
Usually it's I was just exploring England when I was in my younger days. Yeah, quite surprisingly. Spent my first year exploring.
I like that.
Do you choose to pleasantly wander on back to the hotel, or do you actually explore? Okay.
We choose to pleasantly walk back to the hotel while we're taking in the sights.
Give me a stamina roll for those 8 flights of stairs.
All of us?
Yeah. Had a heavy meal.
Okay, yeah. Totally do it.
My boy used to live in the mountains.
Yep. Hey, you will manage it. And the apocalypse is making fits.
He complains the whole time, but he does make it.
And Neil's not demonstrating sufficient sisu there. Okay.
He's retired.
He's allowed to be a bit more lax. Okay, so that's that. We pivot quickly over to rostergram. The tea comes to an end. The cafe is clearly winding up. No more customers are allowed in. There's very much an air of finish up your drinks and go. So you are out onto the street, and the Corporal Jameson will say, when we're not actually working, you can just call me Richard, by the way, Doctor.
I'm Megan.
I've had a lovely evening, Megan. I hope to see you again sometime. But now I think I'd best to bid you good night.
Yeah. Have a good night, Richard. She'll make her way back to the
I nearly
hotel.
said ta-ta, forgetting that America. The slightly Southern America just says ta-ta out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Bye.
I know Americans who say ta-ta. Anyway.
Oh, okay. I have learned more.
It's not very common. Anyway. But yeah. So she'll make her way back to the hotel.
All right. Now, I'm aware that most people start having to go at around about this time. So you all gather up at the hotel. I'll say that you sort of bump into one another in your corridors, etc., before you all head into your rooms. Is there anything you discuss amongst yourselves before turning in for the night, or do you look forward to the clean sheets that you seemingly have and go straight to sleep?
I think I would report. I think I'd report to the Commodore that I took a casual stroll by the factory and discovered that it's heavily fortified. It's got guard posts everywhere. Would retire to my room.
Not surprisingly, they'll have it guarded.
Cooking.
Sorry, say again, Draco?
That pierogi did remind me of how my mother cooked it. It's good to be reminded. And he retires.
He goes.
In that case, before. Oh no, carry on, Commodore.
Basically, he goes. Then I definitely would like to try your mother's then.
I mean, if she's still safe out there, perhaps. Good night, Commodore. Good night.
Good night, Lieutenant. And good night, the rest of yous. He goes.
Commodore?
Good night, John boy.
Commodore, before you
Sorry.
turn in, Rasha again would just kind of report a bit like, I may have. She's clearly not feeling good about having to say this, but she's like, I'm hoping that this person I was talking to is not going to tell a bunch of people, but I may have let it slip about there being a Polish helicopter. So, just kind of
That's
like,
okay.
just wanted to let him know before it comes up. But she's like, I just wanted you to hear it from me first, just in case someone brings it up. I don't want you caught off guard.
That's okay. That's okay. If they ask me, then I can easily say we can bring. If they ask me, then I say yeah, they definitely have fuel for it.
Because that's one thing it sounds like we could use as a bargaining chip would be the prospect of fuel for the aircraft. Anyway, that's all.
Yeah.
She'll stifle a yawn. Be like, I really need to go to bed. But good night.
Okay.
All right.
What's going on?
Everything okay there, Corvinus?
I think she's been sniffing aviation fuel.
Yes.
It seemed that way.
You know.
For the purposes of just preparing for next week, or not next week, 2 weeks from now, Is it your plan to generally go and head straight back, speak to the major, and report things, or do you have some? Right, okay.
We're gonna so we can actually get some punch through the barricade that is blocking us from the connection to that city, and plus we can ask support from the Polish, giving him the report of what has happened to one of their cities. And how come the Russians have one step ahead?
Well, excellent. We'll see how that pans out 2 weeks from now. In the meantime, I hope everyone had a good time, and we'll rally back round in 2 weeks. Fantastic.
GG, thanks for the game. I had a lot of fun.
All right, ending that.
Have a good one, fellas.